Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. I got a little story for you, and I think there's a good point to the end of this that I want to share with you. It's funny to me how often certain baits go completely forgotten about in certain parts of the country. And in my experience, what I've really come to determine is that a bass is a bass, and generally speaking, if there's an opportunity to use a lure that, say, works in the west, it works out east. Or if it works in the south, it works up north. And it's funny because I thought about doing this video a little while ago, but I just was talking to a friend the other day, and it kind of reminded me of the topic and why I should go ahead and do this video. And it's interesting to me because I was talking to this buddy, and we were talking about our local tackle shop, or a local store in Wisconsin here that is no longer in business, or I should say they're going out of business, and they're blowing out all their tackle. And they've been doing it over a period of time where they started with like 20% off sales, and then every couple weeks they drop it to like 30% off, 40% off. And right now it's at 50% off. And I was talking to my buddy about how, you know, in a way, he's almost like gambling. He's got certain baits he wants to pick up at certain price points. And, you know, for an example, they had like Megabass Vision 110s. And as soon as they went to like 20% off, they sold them, all of them, right? So if you wanted them at 50% off, you weren't going to get them. But there are certain baits that right now are still really on the shelves well. And my buddy is kind of just playing the game of, I think I can let those go longer because nobody in Wisconsin throws them. And specifically, he's talking about this bait. Today's video is brought to you by the Deep Dive app. This has had an amazing new update. As you guys know, I love the water clarity feature. As you can see right here, we're looking at Grand Lake, which just had a whole pile of rain come into it. It went from being really clear to having a lot of dirty water coming in the bottom end of it. Just an amazing feature to be able to determine where the clear water is versus the muddy water. So Deep Dive has just also introduced Stream Flow. Now this is a really cool feature that shows all of the water input coming into certain reservoirs and the amount of water coming in. So they measure it in cubic feet per second. You can see in this case, this is just a small creek, but then you can see the projected as well as the previous flows. If we move up the lake here, get into one of the larger rivers coming in, you can see here that we've got 490 cubic feet per second. And then it shows you that there's not much of a change expected. Now, if there's some rainfall coming, I'm sure those projections will change. If we scoot on over here to take a look at Kentucky Lake and Barkley Lake, much larger river systems, the Tennessee River, you can see what the projected outflow is going to be there, 28,000 cubic feet per second. Go check the Cumberland River here. We got 9.4 thousand cubic feet per second. Just an amazing feature that allows you to see all of the different water flows coming into the different parts of the lake. You can see which ones might be the most affected, which ones won't be affected, see what the projected outflow schedules are. A major feature to help you catch more fish. And that's on top of some of the other new features like the wind effects. Now, the wind effects is really cool because we've had wind effects as part of the app in the past, but all it did is show where the wind was hitting the shoreline the most, as you can see from the dots, the orange and bright red dots, which indicate where the wind is really striking. But now the wind feature also indicates what the wave action is like on the lake itself. So some of the features you're going to get from this is determining where to get from place to place safely by avoiding the heavy, rough water conditions. You'll be able to determine where you may have some of the strongest current flow and some of the places where you can fish to stay protected. Now, along with that, you still have some of my favorite features like the patterns that you've got on the lake that indicate the best baits and lures to fish with. You've also got the water inflow app, which shows you where a bunch of the rain input comes in. That can be an amazing pattern to fish throughout the year. Just a great feature to have. So many positive features anytime you're fishing or using the Deep Dive app. Just points you in the right direction to catch more fish. Whether you're a tournament angler or a local fun fisherman that's just out to catch a few fish, the Deep Dive app will help you catch more fish next time you're out on the water. So he's waiting to pick up a pile of these, the Strike King XD, the 8XD, and the 10XD. He specifically wants the big cranks, but he thinks he can pick them up at 60, 70, or even 80% off. And it's because nobody's buying them. And it's funny to me how it really is a crankbait that nobody up north uses. I think the assumption is that this bait is too big of a crankbait to throw. And I am so, so against that idea. I've caught a ton of fish throwing the 8XDs and the 10XDs even up here. You know, in my old days, before, you know, when I was still a younger angler, before I started fishing tournaments, I would have looked at a big crankbait like that and been like, that's a musky lure. That is not a bass bait. But what I've come to find out is you generally can't have a bait that's too big for a largemouth. But not only is this a good largemouth bait, it works for smallmouth as well. And my buddy is aware of that. He's been cranking them up here in Wisconsin for a long time. He also does travel around, so he's going to have the opportunity to use them, say, on the Tennessee Valley lakes. But the reality is they work great. But you can tell that they don't sell well in Wisconsin because they're one of the baits that's still left at the local tackle shop that's going out of business. It doesn't look like anybody has bought any of them. And at 50% off, I'm sitting there going, I should just go buy them all, because I know at some point I'm either going to use them, because I really do like big crankbaits, or I could probably turn around and sell them at some point. But the point of this video was to share with you some of the big cranks that I do really like and ones that have been productive for me. And this is one of them. Both the 8XD and the 10XD are really, really good cranks. And this is one that, man, there's been a lot of tournaments that have been won on them. I do feel like crankbaits are making a little bit of a resurgence back, but I think the minnow has still kind of knocked down everything. And crankbaits is one of the baits that a lot of people don't throw as much because they're throwing a jig head minnow. But there's something to be said for a big crankbait, a big bodied crankbait generating aggressive reaction strikes from a lot of bass, and some of the bigger bass too. And that 8XD and the 10XD are ones that we've seen win a lot of tournaments. So we know that that bait works really well. Now, a couple that I don't feel like we hear nearly as much about are ones like this. This is the Azuma. This is the Z Boss. This is the 24 size, as you can see on the bottom. It's funny, you know, this is one, I'm not sure if Tim Horton specifically designed it, or I think he was with Azuma. And this bait came out a long time ago and really started performing really, really well. And then it kind of, I feel like it kind of just got slept on. It just, for whatever reason, wasn't being as picked up as much. I think when they first came out with, I think it was Profound Outdoors, I think you had to be like a member in order to purchase it. Now you can get them all over the place, or you can get them more, I should say more easily, like at Tackle Warehouse, places like that. But this is a really good, wide wobbling, deep running crankbait, big bodied crankbait that gets down fast. You know, like I said, this one gets down to about the mid 20 range, depending on the lines that you're throwing. I've actually caught the biggest bass I've ever caught on a big crankbait was on this one. I think it was in the citrus shad color, so not specifically this color, but I had like an 8.5 pounder that I caught down that was on Pickwick Lake years ago. And that was, I think that's actually kind of why I bought them in the first place, is because Pickwick is where Timmy Horton was doing a lot of the filming with that bait. And I remember catching one just being like, okay, this is a winner. Another one that I've had a lot of success on is this guy. So this is the Duo Realis. This is the G87, I believe. This is the 20A version. Yeah, it says right on top. I should have just read that. The 20A version. Man, those hooks are sharp. So this one gets down roughly to that 20-foot mark. Again, it's a bigger bodied profile bait. What I like about this one, though, is it's a little bit longer in stature versus like deep. So if I show you the two, you can see like the Z-Boss is a much deeper belly on it, a wider bait. So this is still a big, long profiled bait, because even though the bill is clear-ish, it's still a bigger profile bait. And this thing really has some crazy action. It has more, what I would call more erratic action, or a little bit more of that darting side to side. It's just that a little bit more, I don't want to call it wiggle wartish because it's not that crazy, but it definitely seems to have some good movement, and it's really good off the deflection. This is one that I really like to throw if I'm grinding the bottom. So like the 8XD and the 10XD, specifically the 8XD, I really like to speed burn and try to just fish as fast as I can, get it to deflect, get it to create reaction strikes. This is one that I actually do better grinding the bottom with. So I'll fish this in a little bit shallower water where I'm just trying to just get it down and grind the bottom, deflect off some objects, and it has that hunting action that I was referring to. Not necessarily a wiggle wart, but it still has that good movement. Just another really good one at generating bites. That's, again, one of my preferred colors. This, I call it citrus shad. I don't know if that's what they call it. I don't know if it says here. Yeah, this is their citrus shiner. But that's one of the all-around best crankbait colors, in my opinion. But these are three that I really like to throw. Do not sleep on bigger bodied crankbaits. You won't get as many bites. Your quality will go up, and there are times where it's like the fish don't want to eat other things, but they really will still eat that big crankbait. And the fact that a lot of people aren't throwing them now, in my opinion, only continues to make them better. So give them a try. If you can pick them up at 50% off or more, it's probably worth it. So thanks for watching. I appreciate all the support. If you enjoyed today's video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Stay tuned. We'll have a new one coming out tomorrow.